yeah.
Throw your hands up, everyone. Shake the stress that's killing you. Fancy footwork just like me. Shake it over this dance floor. Throw your hands up, everyone. Shake the stress that's killing you. Fancy footwork just like me. Shake it over this dance floor.
Enjoy your life, be free and right. Enjoy your life, have some fun and enjoy.
Coming up on Mental Health Marty, raising focused kids in an unfocused world. Stay tuned.
Enjoy your life. Enjoy your life.
Take two, raising focused minded kids in an unfocused world. Stay tuned for real. What's going on, everyone? Listen, this is Take Two Tuesday. So listen, we don't mind making a mistake and starting over. That's what we do in life. You often have to start all over again and don't lose sight of the goal. But hey, welcome to Mental Health Marty Show. And this is me, Marty Sellers, your mental health hygienist, coming to you live and always in living color in Southern California, specifically Rialto, California, where the sun most of the time shines. Today it rained like crazy, and you know we in California, we're not used to that. So folks was late and everything else, but we are glad that you have joined us for the second show of our great return. For those of you who were with us last week, thank you. Ronnie, it is so good to see you. I missed you. Appreciate you always staying tuned with us and everything. We are so excited. And again, I had so much fun last week that I forgot what this show meant to me mentally and emotionally. And I was just charged to be back doing this and returning back to what we do. So again, welcome to the show. And I'm so glad. So as always, we want to remind you of who we are as Mental Health Marty. We are not a substitute for your mental wellness, but we are simply a supplemental, a psychoeducational show. We don't profess to be your therapist or anything else, but we want to help you in your journey, to give you tools along the way. So if you're experiencing any type of psychological or emotional emergency, please call 988 or go to your nearest emergency room or urgent care for assistance, because we don't want you to secretly suffer in silence in the shadow of shame. But we always want you to speak up, speak out, and live, because it's so important that we do these things and take the stigma out of mental health. Just because you're going through a mental health crisis does not mean that you have a horrible mental health diagnosis, because we all have crises in life, and we want to be there to support you in everything that you do. Now, how you can help us? How can you help us? I'm glad you asked. We want you to have engagement in this conversation. So if you're joining us on any other platform, in order to see your comments tonight and moving forward, we want you to go over to our Mental Health Marty channel on YouTube. That's right, on YouTube. And when you get over to YouTube, if you have not already liked and subscribed to us, we want you to subscribe, like, and hit that. When you do that, you'll hear that bell, and we want you to always be informed when we are on and live. But today's show is about raising focused minds. What are you talking about, Marty? I'm glad you asked. It really is about supporting our children in the school system. Too often, our young boys and our young girls are often misdiagnosed, given wrong diagnosis with that. Hey, Miss Tanya, good to see you. And we want to help out and make sure that you have all the tools necessary so that your child loves going to school, that they are feeling engaged, that their teachers are paying attention to them, and that they are getting everything that they need out of school. So how do we do that when we want to label everyone with ADHD and all of this? Is there such thing as ADHD? I truly believe so. However, I believe that ADHD is a superpower that can be used to nurture and develop our children when done responsibly and reasonably. And it's up to us to make sure that our teachers understand the dynamics and learning principles of our children. So with that being said, listen, I got to have my brother from another mother. He come to me 2 weeks in a row and supported me. This was the original show he was scheduled for, but when I called him because I was in need last week, he jumped on, and I am so grateful that my brother is always willing to join me whenever I ask. And I guess I'll give you a cup of coffee sometime. But anyway, can we welcome again back to the stage and back to the show none other than Thomas Davis. Thomas,
Good,
what's up, man?
good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning to you. It's been a long day, I can tell.
A
Tell 'em good
long
morning.
day.
Yes.
What's up, sir?
Man, you know what? We both CEOing, and it has its moments. So yes. Hey,
Yes,
Cuzzo, that's my folk in Ohio. But listen, how are you? How's life
man.
treating you?
Life is life. I'm okay. It has been a very interesting Tuesday, but no
Yes.
weapon formed is going to beat me at all.
Come,
So I'm
come on.
great,
You better quote the Bible.
man. I'm
You
great.
know, you
How are
might know
you?
Jesus in the pardon of your sins, but I'm doing. I'm doing all right, man. I am doing well.
It's great to see you, Marty, and thank you again for the invitation to come back for week 2. Thank you so much. To our listening audience, I love y'all. Thank you all for supporting this brother. He is a good guy.
Hey, thank you. I don't care what I don't care what your mama say about you. You all right in my book. But
She downstairs, by the way.
I'll tell her I said, hey,
She'll be
tell Mama
chiming
Duke
in.
she got to come and do a cameo appearance with us.
Oh, okay. I would tell her.
Yes. But you know what, Thomas?
Yes.
I celebrated my 45th birthday.
I know. It was great to call you on Saturday and wish you a happy birthday. And when you was enjoying your life earlier, I was like, oh, he still
Yes.
got rhythm at the age 60.
Thank you, Thomas. 60 is next year. So watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth.
I love you.
But enough about you. But Thomas, I'm so glad. But first of all, talk to us, because you have been in education for a number of
Yes.
years, and that's your passion, and helping young people and mentoring, and through your fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha. Shout out to
In
the
the
Alphas
back.
and your chapter,
In the
and
back.
what you all do, and what drew you to wanting to be a beacon of light, a beacon of hope for children.
Thank you so much for that question. For me, it's just simply it is a very personal
Hmm.
affair that I decided to do when I decided to get into education. Having a speech impediment, I felt like I was not seen. And
Mm.
sometimes when I was heard to be picked on because of
Hmm.
my language barrier. And so I
Hmm.
wanted to be that beacon of light to let individuals know that have special accommodations
Hmm.
or as they say, disabilities, that you don't
Hmm.
have to suffer in silence, as you say.
Come
You can
on.
speak
Yes.
up, you can speak out, and you can live. If it takes you 2 extra minutes to say hello, you still have to be bold and be confident in who you are. So, education is very important to me. As they say, knowledge is power, and we
That's
have to
right.
encourage our people to not allow what others may see as a
I
barrier to
love that.
keep us in bondage.
No, I love that. I love that, especially, and thank you for being so candid and open because there are so many famous people who had speech impediments that
Right.
people did not realize. You know, Maya Angelou and so many others.
Hmm.
James Earl Jones, who's the
Yes.
major voice of so many things, and the list goes on and on.
Right. Right.
But how was that experience for you, especially in the educational system? If you don't mind me being even that much more, a little bit more personal and transparent, and my second part of that question is what did you need at that time that you offer this passion and compassion to children today?
So I think when I was going through middle school, it was very difficult because, as we know, our peers sometimes are our cheerleaders, and they can also be our
Right.
worst enemies. And so I
Sure,
think
sure.
when I was in the middle school era, I was
Hmm.
always quiet. I was always
Mm.
seen, but not really heard because I spoke
Right.
very limited because of being able to have a conversation, and I get excited about things, and
Hmm.
the get to coming out real quick, and people are like, oh,
Right,
what did
right,
you just say? And then they will say it again because they knew that there was a particular word that I could
right,
not say in,
right,
like I should. So I was very
right.
quiet. But then when I transitioned into high school, it was more accepting.
Hmm.
I had an amazing friend in high school. My eighth grade year,
Hmm.
I had signed up to be the homecoming king, and they were like, well, you can't say
That's so you.
homecoming. And my homeboy rocked it out. He was like, "Yo, don't do that because that's not okay." And so
Right.
to answer your question, to have their support, to have their grace, to have their
Hmm.
understanding, but also I also had to have those things inside of me, that confidence,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
self-esteem, that
That's
self-awareness,
good.
that go-getter mindset. But that's just didn't
Right.
happen overnight. It happened with a
Yeah.
lot of practice, a lot of repetition. It happened with a lot of occupational therapy, speech language
Sure,
therapy, all
sure,
of those things.
sure.
I had to put my pride down and say, "Hey, I need help."
Yeah, that's so good because my eldest daughter, she also has a speech impediment, and
Mhm.
a lot of times it's because our brain
It's going
is
so
racing
fast.
much faster. Yes, 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 yes. Dr. John, I love it. I love that you got that doc in front of that.
Look at
Listen,
that. Look at
beautiful
that.
man. Congrats. Remember, uh, Jonathan used to watch us back in the day. Now Dr.
Mhm.
Jonathan is watching us, and shout out my brother for
Love
for
that.
doing that.
Love that.
Yes, yes. But a lot of times, but that is so much for so many of us
Yes.
because I know that there are times that my brain moves faster than what I
Mhm.
can actually get it out, and
Mhm.
we all have those catchphrases and so forth. And middle school is a cruel time period.
Ooh,
Middle school
yes.
kids are they're horrible. Um, they are, you know,
Yes.
they are
Yes.
because they're too old to be in that elementary, but too young
Correct.
to be in that high school. So they're trying to find
Facts.
their way, and they're mean, and they stink, and they smell, and they just trying to be all those things. But
And I will also say sometimes they are what I call brutally honest
true,
to an
but
extent.
we to an extent because we're developing our emotions and friendships and all those things with that.
Right.
I don't want to continue this conversation without bringing on our next guest, and she is absolutely phenomenal. She is the wife of my best friend, and she has this amazing organization. The two of them have this amazing organization called Ivy Bound LA. And so, can you
Love
bring
it.
to the stage none other than Michelle Dolphin?
Yeah.
Michelle. I know that's right.
Hey.
Hey, and let me say this
Hi.
to Michelle. Happy early birthday to you. Another
Aw,
October
thank
baby. Yes. Ah, yes,
you.
yes. Now I hate that your husband is about to be 70 and you're just turning 35, but he robbed the cradle.
Right?
But anyway,
Yeah. Let's not talk about that right now.
Michelle, welcome to the show. I'm
Thank
always
you for
grateful.
having me.
No, no, no. You are such a wealth of knowledge, and
Mhm.
education is your passion. So, for those who may not know you and seeing you for the first time, listen. Give us a little history and background. Who are you, and what makes you qualified?
Yeah.
I don't want to sing, but I know you're amazing, and all these other things. And what is your quality, and why do you even have passion, and what got you into teaching?
So, teaching was just something that my mom said I should have done, and I went in a different direction. And
Right,
honestly, it
right.
was. And
Wow.
So my background is actually in biology and chemistry. And so I started my career in elementary education, and then I moved up to high school. And then high school is really where I learned my passion of really being
Okay.
with those the athletes. And so my
Yes.
background is in curriculum and instruction, specifically for science. So that's my
Okay.
master's is in that. But my passion is really understanding the kids that are neurodivergent, and also
Mm.
how I can support those kids. And being in the particular high school that I was teaching in, majority of the kids, 80% of the kids were athletes. And so the
Mm-hmm.
trend that I saw was majority of the athletes had some type of learning difference. And whether
Mm.
it was they passed through because they were an outstanding athlete,
Right,
or
right.
just culturally their family didn't know to get them tested. And so
Mhm.
I'm sure we're going to talk about this, but that is
Yes,
where it kind of down the road of looking at the correlation between learning differences and mental health problems. And so I saw that a lot. And so that just ignited my passion for education and more. And my brain thinks science. So I think what is going on with the brain. And so that's my
I love it.
background is, yeah,
No, so
yeah.
let's continue down that topic because when we talk about
Mhm.
neurodivergence, and that is a lot of people have heard it, but maybe don't fully understand it. So,
Mhm.
especially coming out of a private school, you're taught at a private school, and I love that you brought this correlation. That a lot of times, I always say this with our parents, and we need to be aware that when you talk about private schools, that these children are commodities for these schools, and their job is just like in college to get butts and seats and donors to donate money. And
Yes.
so a lot of times, do they care about the children? I'm gonna step out on a limb and say yes, they do. But they're
Yes.
also looking at the bottom line of it is how much money is that kid able to bring into the school because of their talent. And we will
Mhm.
pass or do whatever we have to. So can you explain neurodivergence and what that is? And then Thomas, I want you to speak to it as well, because as a mental health therapist, what are some trends that you are even seeing? And then I have some other questions I want to present to us as well. But Michelle, let's talk about that neurodivergence.
So it's really a spectrum. So when you think about autism, and a lot of people know about autism being a spectrum,
Hmm.
neurodivergence covers all of the learning differences. So before we would characterize it as just they have ADHD or ADD or executive functioning disorder, but we look at it as all on this spectrum of neurodivergence, meaning even
Hmm.
the really bright kids are on that
Sure.
spectrum as well,
Yes.
because there's challenges. Even a really bright, genius level IQ can be on
Right.
that scale. There's social issues, and then you have the others,
Yes.
way. So neurodivergence really finally covers all of those, the babies that are even the brilliant ones to
Yes.
the ones who may struggle with different learning differences. So it's giving a way to say your brain works differently, but it's beautiful, and that's what
Yeah.
I think neurodivergence really, yeah.
And I love how you said that, because all of our children have beautiful brains,
Hmm.
and they are beautiful in everything. And we as parents have to take time to understand how our child's brains function and how they think and set them up for success. In
Yes.
that, so Thomas, even in that same vein there, and neurodivergency, and talk about this whole spectrum and so forth, what are some of the common mistakes or common things that maybe we as adults and parents miss in seeing the, and I love it, Michelle, what you said, the beauty of our children's brains.
I
Mhm.
think Michelle hit it right on the head. The word is
Yes.
variations.
Mm.
Variations means difference. There is not a
Yes.
Yes.
one-stop shop to provide
Yes.
quality and culturally relevant education to students. But to answer your question, we got to think about what it is. It's the social interactions and their
Yes.
communications. So if a student is on the autism spectrum, the way that
Hmm.
they respond is going to be a little bit different. The way that they
Right.
communicate is going to be different. Think about
Right.
what this topic is all about tonight, ADHD. The way that they
Hmm.
are able to focus, being
Hmm.
able to capture their attention span. And let's
Yes.
talk about something that we really don't like to talk about in the education
Come on. Come
field.
on.
That is the sensory processing. How do they
Yes.
process those things? Because we have a lot of students that have sensory needs, the
Hmm.
ears, the throat, the mouth, all of
Yes.
those things,
Yes.
the touch, and learning and memory. Because sometimes people are diagnosed and misdiagnosed as having dyslexia.
Mhm.
So I don't want to take away from what she said because she hit it right on the
Right.
head. But those are the
Yes.
different variations in the educational field.
Love that. And you spoke earlier, you said about this misdiagnosis and all of that. Can you talk about what, since we're talking about this on a mental health perspective as well, what are commonalities that has to happen? Because we know in mental health for children diagnosis, it needs to happen in the school and in the home or two. But what are some common misdiagnoses, especially for our Black and brown children, that you see?
In the school setting or just period?
Both. But
All right,
since
so
we're
let's
talking about
start.
schools, let's start with schools.
So let's talk about the education realm. So let's be very honest. The education
Yes.
field and our school systems, they have what they call the individual education plans. And in the
IEP.
individualized education plans, the IEP, there are something that is called, what are they classified as? So they do the full
Mm-hmm.
test battery, the psychosocial, the psychologicals, the BAS, the WISC, all of those
Uh-huh.
educational assessments to get their academic functioning level, but then they also do a component that focuses on their emotional stability. So you may see diagnosis as being ADHD, you may see a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of conduct disorder, but if they have other mental health disorders, then it's called other health impairments, OHI. So the OHI are those other diagnoses that the school does not have their capacity or may not have their ability to be able to deal with and manage it. So they label and they put all of those diagnoses in this one category called other
Mm-hmm.
health impairments.
So Thomas, now tell me this: if my kid is referred for a IEP, individual education plan, or a 504, or any of
Mhm.
those other things, do I have to keep the school's therapist, or can I get my own? Can I get a second opinion? What is that like? Because a lot of times I think our people just don't know. And so they think it's a scary thing. It's like, oh my God, they have an IHP. They're crazy. It's going to be in their permanent records forever. What is all the what? Talk to us about the fear and the lack of truly understanding of that.
You said a lot of different things there, and
I
I
know.
want to start with the lack of fear because they have
Okay.
a individual education plan or a 504 plan. That
Mm-hmm.
is nothing that any parent, and if we have any parents that are listening tonight, do not
Mm-hmm.
be ashamed that your child has a 504 or an individual education plan, because that
That's
plan can
right.
actually follow them into college, into higher education, so they
Yes.
can have those additional resources and access to
There.
learning. So, parents, please do not be afraid, do not be ashamed, do not minimize the fact that our kids have what we said earlier, a variation to learning. It is an
Mm.
opportunity for them to have their space to be comfortable, to have the extra
Yes.
extended time. So I do want to start
Yes.
there. When it comes
Okay.
to when it goes back to your initial question, each school district is different. So you
Mm-hmm.
got to look at what your school district says. For here in the District of Columbia, a parent can put in writing that they would like to have their child tested for a IEP. So individual education plan is that they will put it in writing, and the school has a certain number of days to complete their particular process, which includes a lot of a lot of evaluations, a lot of testing to see if the child qualifies for individual
Right.
education plan. A 504 plan is a little bit different. A 504 plan is an accommodation plan to where that
Mm-hmm.
child may not necessarily fit the criteria for an individual education plan, but they can get those reasonable accommodations. So there's the
Yes.
difference between a IEP and a 504
And
plan here in the
thank
District
you.
of Columbia.
Yeah.
So I
Michelle,
can give you an example
please.
of like,
Yes,
yeah,
thank
so
you.
um, I have twin boys, so let's just use my twins as an example. Let's
Okay.
say
And they are brainiacs. One is in medical school,
yeah.
the other is in law school. And I'm like, really? Wow.
So yeah, I can use them as an example. So if one of them, let's say, was struggling with hyperactivity, impulsivity, and then we get him tested and he has ADD, he would qualify for an IEP. But in the
Right.
case of my other son, and this part is a real life example. One of my sons had a disease called, it's like children's version of fibromyalgia. So it's called AMPS, and he could not sit for very long without standing. So he didn't need an IEP, but what he needed was an accommodation of 504 to allow him to stand up in a classroom. Now, if he didn't have the ability to get that 504, or I didn't put that
Mm-hmm.
in place, what Thomas is saying is true. He would have been characterized like, oh, he just can't sit down. Why is this kid always moving around,
Exactly.
playing with something in his hand? Because he really couldn't physically sit down the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to put a 504 in place. And to add to what Thomas was saying, if I was like, oh, I don't want that to track him, I don't want that, then I wouldn't have give him. It's called equity. It's not about,
Yes.
and that's for everyone listening. It's giving your child equity. So it's the
Yes.
picture that I always see of two kids standing at a fence trying to look over, and the one is shorter. I'm going to give him a bench to be able to stand up and be as
That's
tall as
right.
the other is naturally tall. That's equity. And that's what a
Yes. Yes.
504, well done, and an IEP, that's what will provide your child. So
Yes.
that's the difference.
Yes, yes. I see someone else has joined you. He snuck in there, but we won't talk about it. It's his birthday tomorrow, but that's okay. Uh-huh. Tell him don't squeeze in the frame yet. We're not ready for him. We're not ready for him. No, but no, that's so true. So thank you for that, because I think a lot of parents, we get scared. Oh my God, my kid has an IEP. Oh my God, they have a 504. No, that's going to help them. I'm like, yes, my kid has a five. Baby, we all right. We can now take your time, do whatever you need to do, especially so because I think it goes back to what you said earlier. Their beautiful brain
Mhm.
functions and fires differently. So now we
Mhm.
have the accommodations that matches and that can complement how they think, how they process, and whatever they do with that. And I think that is a beautiful, beautiful thing with that. So I have some questions I want to ask you guys. Let's go. Mac in the back. We appreciate the Mac in the back. Yes. How can educators differentiate between willful behaviors and misbehaviors and behaviors when it comes to ADHD and symptomologies with that? Because a lot of times we get those things confused. And so Thomas, how can we differentiate between just being bad and oh, that's not politically correct, being
No.
mischievous and really needing an accommodation, or that's just how they're wired?
So I think the first way to answer this, when you look at the word willful misbehavior,
Yes,
I
yes,
know if I do something, there's going to be a consequence, right? So when you
yes.
think about willful misbehaviors, I am willfully doing this no matter what the consequences may be.
Right,
This is what I'm going to choose to do, because they know at the end of the day, if I fight, I may get suspended, I may have in school
right,
suspension, etc. However,
right.
if I'm diagnosed with ADHD, and if I have a diagnosis that is valid, my behaviors is predicated based off of my senses, based off of
Yes.
my inability to stay focused on that particular
Mm-hmm.
task. If I have a particular conduct disorder, aka mood
Mm-hmm.
disorder, if you get into my personal space, that becomes a trigger, which is connected to trauma. So my behavior responses is a little bit different than what I know that I should not be doing. So when we think about our kids that need that extra love, aka as Marty
Yes.
says, the
Yes.
BAD kids, I don't believe kids are bad. I just believe they need a little bit of love and attention. Those youth who makes those conscious decisions to do what they do, we gotta reverse it and say, hey, how can we change your behavior responses? Whereas if a child has a mental disorder, they have traumas, they have ODD, they have ADHD, they have situations to where you can't
Okay.
get
Okay.
in a
You're saying
personal
some stuff
space.
that I don't know. ODD,
Oh,
conduct disorder,
oppositional defiant disorder.
defiance. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure for that. Now,
Conduct.
now, yeah.
Go ahead.
And Michelle, I want you to answer this, but I want to go to also these diagnoses because I just believe they're quick to label these diagnoses, particularly on our young Black boys. I had a client and they wanted to label him as conduct disorder and ODD. I'm like, really? This is what we're doing. So when I met him, he's like, so he was very defensive, So you gonna label me like everyone else? Da da da. I was like, dog, no, I don't even know you, and so no, I don't want to judge you by doing that. And after further investigation, he didn't have conduct disorder. He didn't have oppositional defiance disorder. He was severely depressed.
Hmm.
And one of the characteristics we know of depression is what, Thomas?
Hmm.
Anger.
Depends on which one. Anger,
Yeah.
withdrawals,
Y- Yes,
isolation,
yes,
low
yes,
mood, low affect. I can go on and on
yes,
and on.
yes. We can't, and so too often we want to take those negative, the far negative sensible diagnosis on there, characteristics of that, and just automatically label him as conduct. No, his father. He thought his father was dead. He thought that all these other things, so many other things that's happening. He was in this huge grief mode, and so guess what? We're allowed to be. That's part of the cycles of grief, anger.
Hmm.
And so, I was then had to combat the schools and go, no, take this off. This is a wrong diagnosis. He's depressed. He's grieving. He's angry.
Hmm.
You know, the person who was supposed to go ahead, Thomas. I see you. Jump in.
And Michelle knows this well. She's in education. Educators and the school system cannot diagnose depression.
I was just going to say that. And you know what I was going to say about this question,
Michelle,
Thomas?
I saw your face. I saw it. I saw it.
Yes.
So it says, how can educators differentiate? I am not
Yes.
qualified to differentiate. Even with my master's, I don't have the training of an educational psychologist to be able to differentiate. I should not be doing that. That is not
Come on.
my lane that I should be in. So all I see is behavior issues. I should be referring
Yes.
that child to
Yes.
the proper resources and not deciding if that is willful behavior or that is not my lane. What my job
Yes.
is classroom management. And if I see issues that I
Yes.
can't mitigate, then it is my job to refer that child to the counselor so that they can get the proper testing and follow up to make sure that is happening. But that is not my
Yes.
job. And if you do,
Yes.
I'm not qualified to do that.
Yes. Yes. And these things have a lasting.
And I'm gonna just tell you, Black and brown students, if they are active, that is already considered willful misbehavior. And in
Yes.
actuality, because I taught more Black and brown students than I ever did at the end of my career, and they are active learners. And so
Yes.
that is misconstrued as active, just like we are in church. Amen, amen. And they're doing
Hmm.
that as willful misbehavior. It is, they are
Yes.
engaged. And so
Yes.
when you it is the way you deal with those behaviors, whether it's ADHD or misbehavior, it doesn't matter to me. To be
Right.
honest, when I got the IEPs, I would read them because that's my job to read them, but I would put them aside because I'm going to learn this child for myself. I don't care what it says that they can't fit. I don't
Yes.
care what their goals, because my goals for them is they're going to succeed. And so I'm getting teary eyed just talking about that, because how many
Yeah, no,
IEPs I got where the goals were set so low and the bar was set so low. And I was like, I'm not doing that to this baby or this family. I'm setting the
yes.
goals. I'm going to have him
That's
reach.
right.
And if he doesn't, that's okay. But
Right.
this question, I get it, and it's true. A lot of educators, but that's because we don't have enough of us out there being educators in the classroom
Come on.
and
And
fighting
Come
for our
on.
Michelle,
baby.
Michelle, if I
Go
could
ahead.
chime in, before I decided to do this thing of full-time mental health, I was a dean of special ed students at a high school for over 7 years. And when you made the comment, when you see those individual education plans, I was in charge of a level 5 program where
Oh.
Wow.
students, where teachers, where sometimes administrators. I'm glad this is
Mm-hmm.
not my show because I know that my former staff would be watching. But there were times to where administrators have given up on kids
Mm-hmm.
in a level
Mm-hmm.
5 program. And when you talk about
Mm.
those goals, student will write sight words 4 out of 5 trials, and they are in the 10th grade, but you provided them with 8th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade level work. You're not pushing that variation, and we're not being culturally and equitable in providing those ways for kids to learn those different methods and those different pedagogies to be able to learn those in 10th and 11th
Mm-hmm.
grade words. We don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
that
Yes.
because that requires us to do what? Scaffold our lessons. That requires us
And
to do
spend
different
time.
lesson plans,
Yes.
which requires us to be doing something that many educators say that they don't have time to do, and that's called different type of lessons. And that's why I learned when you made that comment, it hit me because I would do the same thing. I would tell my black boys, I don't care what your BIP says. I don't care what
Yep.
your behavior intervention plan says. We're going to be in here. You're going to come to school. You may throw a
Mm-hmm.
chair down, but we're going to pick that chair up and we're going to get
Mm-hmm.
back to work because I'm not going to turn my back on you. All of my
Yeah.
black boys, I
That
call
is
them
so true.
sons. I love them
That's right.
because not only is education important, they need that social emotional pickup because everyone
Yeah.
has
Yes.
turned their back on them. And if they
Yes.
see us and we turn our back on them, all we doing is creating the cycle. That cycle
Mm-hmm.
is going to keep happening.
Exactly.
So how do we show up as educators to say, this is what you did do, but this is what you can do moving forward? So thank you for
Mm-hmm.
sharing that, Michelle.
No, I
Yeah.
love that
Thank
because, and even for some of our young men, it is better. You said something that was good. Sometimes we have to lower. I had another client that was in the 10th grade, and I noticed a pattern. Every time he was called upon to read, he would start a fight with someone.
you.
And so that was a red flag to me. I said, there's something going on here. Why is it every time? Well, come to find out, he was reading at a Dr. Seuss level, and he didn't want that. So it's better to be seen as a troublemaker and a
Mm-hmm.
fighter than illiterate. And so I had to then go to the school and say, listen, we need to get him at a different reading level,
Yeah.
and don't ask him to read, ask him to respond to a question once he hears it and say, what did you hear me say, what did you hear the story, now what do you think? In that regards, behaviors turned around immediately. But why does it take us to have to tell these our teachers, or, and I'm not putting down teachers because there's some amazing teachers out there,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
but I'm doing a broad painting of this because I love teachers. They're the backbone of who we are as a society. And I'm one who believes that we need to pay our teachers more and support them more
Yes.
if we're going to change the nation and change the world. But we also can't have those ones in there who are labeling our black and brown boys and our children because they don't believe they have the capacity or the mental ability to do the work.
Well, I think you brought up a good point, Marty. When I was studying in an undergrad
Mm-hmm.
and even my master's, there was the cultural competency that I received was not even a semester worth. in my program.
Right.
And mine was
Right.
a very robust, great program. I learned a lot. And so that's where we even need to start, because some of it is just understanding when you're labeling a child is because you don't have the cultural competency to understand that is
Right.
normal cultural behavior. Um,
Yes.
you know, I remember in class that I had a student who, if he liked my outfit, he'd be like, "Okay, I see you today," and that culturally was like, "Okay,"
Yes.
or he would call me "momty," and culturally,
Yes.
that's a compliment, But if he would
Yes.
have said that to a white, maybe a white teacher, I'm just going to be honest, she would be like, "Oh, don't you, you're flirting or whatever." But in that, he was saying, "Hey, you look great." The
Yes.
fact that some of my international students wouldn't make eye contact because that's not
Mm-hmm.
acceptable in their country to look an adult in the eye. But if I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know that, I would just be like, "Oh, look, he's never looking at
Mm-hmm.
me in the eye."
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to start there because educators
I
are
love
not
it.
given that. And whether it's a professional development or whatever, but also understanding that we are also not given the learning to understand what ADD is, ADHD
Mm-hmm.
is. We're also not
Mm-hmm.
given that. So understanding
Mm-hmm.
that too, it will help them understand how to help, their students.
Yes, yes. This is such a good conversation, and I want to definitely power through these next few questions
Mhm.
because I want to definitely talk about your program, Michelle. You had something, Thomas?
Yes, I
Okay.
want to go back to what we was talking about earlier in the educator's defense. My
Mm-hmm.
Wi-Fi was doing something crazy, so I apologize.
That's all good.
The majority of our teachers are provided their individual education plans from a team that has completed their individual education plan that just comes in and do observations. And so I want to make
Mm.
sure that I am looking at this on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Once an
Yeah.
Mm.
individual education plan is being implemented, it's usually implemented by that team that the school systems contract to come in and provide those observations, those assessments, and then
Right.
from the findings of those test batteries is how the individual education plan is developed. The caveat to that is we got to go and tap into some cultural things. And I'm glad that you brought this up, Michelle. Marty did right by putting us together today because you and I are in sync. If I am a kid and I have trust issues, and you want me to
Mm-hmm.
sit in a room for 30 minutes to complete a basque or a whisk to talk about my educational standards, do you think I'm gonna give you the
Mm.
full picture of me?
Mhm.
Because I
Right.
don't know who you are. It's a relationship thing. People of color are relational individuals, whether we want
Yes.
to admit it or not. So to have
Yes.
someone of my counterparts to come into a space to ask me questions that I
Mm-hmm.
already know I don't understand, I may
Right.
internalize it as if you're trying to say what everyone else has said. So when you think
Yes.
about this as an educator standpoint, the teachers are sometimes given information that has been completed prior to them coming to their classroom. And IEPs transfers from different schools to the new school. So that teacher has to assess that child is in that room now to validate if these goals even are relevant. So
Relevant.
I want
Yes.
I want the teachers that are listening to understand that we're not saying that you're not doing your job, because for someone that's sitting in this
No, by
seat,
no
I know for a
means.
fact that these plans sometimes come from other districts and come from other
Mhm.
schools.
And again,
Thank you,
I
Michelle.
agree with you, Thomas, that we're not beating up on teachers because they're so overcrowded in so many instances. But we also want to give the tools to the parents so that they can be supporters to the teachers
Correct.
and know how to do this at home as well. Daryl, can you put back up the comment that Dr. Jonathan had on here, because I thought it was really good. He says, "I feel as educators we should be proactive in acquiring mental health first aid training as conduits to the proper support that our students may need at the time of crisis or a mental breakdown."
Mhm.
Dr. Jonathan, of course, that's always on point, and thank you for sharing that. So the next question that we had there What practical classroom strategies have proven effective for helping students with ADHD focus and engage? And maybe we don't know. Some people, I've been talking about ADHD as if I assume everyone knows what ADHD stands for. Thomas, can you share with us what ADHD stands for and what are some strategies that can work in the classroom setting?
According to the National Institute of Mental Health, ADHD is a classification that is called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Attention
Yes.
deficit hyperactivity disorder. I have ADHD. I can't sit too long without me having to move around. We all have ADHD. Let's just not sit here and act like we don't. Be in traffic long enough, you gonna move.
Woo!
Mhm.
Right, right,
walk
right.
walk in the grocery store and they got all of the lines closed and you trying to get in and get out. You gonna get the fidgeting, trying to figure out which line is which.
Go to
But
Costco on the weekend.
that part. But
That part.
ADHD is where individuals are fidgety. Sometimes in the classroom, they blurt
Uh-huh.
out answers, they interrupt others, they sometimes test boundaries, and sometimes they have the major challenges with and what we see is staying on task
Mhm.
behaviors, on task focus, being able to complete a activity from the start to finish. That's what ADHD looks like in some students in the classrooms.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, Michelle, what are some of the strategies that you have used for those students to help them stay focused or to even engage in the classroom?
So for me, it was the strategy of my lesson plan was designed that the lecture part was not any longer than 20 to 30 minutes, and because that their attention span is shorter, so having a 20 to 30 minute lecture helped all students, but especially students with ADHD. Also guided, like fill in the blank notes.
Yes.
Also for I also would provide the notes for them ahead of time. And then because it's time management is one of the symptoms of ADHD, they
Mm-hmm.
are not able to always complete a test in the time allotted. So for those students, I would allow them to start the test the day before and I would time them
Oh,
and then
look at you.
I would give them the same test when everyone else started. So then they wouldn't be embarrassed to that, students would be like, oh, you're staying
Wow.
after, get more time. So they would be able to
Wow.
fit the test with the other students, and the other students be like, "Oh, you finished the test," and it's really because they started it the day before. Because the
That's
and
amazing.
some educators will say, "Well, that's they could have went home and cheated because they saw the test," but the goal is for my students to learn. So if that's for them, that's equitable, for them. The other thing
Right.
that I did is with, organization for them. So the classroom was very organized and it wasn't cluttered because I had a lot of
That's right.
students that had ADHD. So
Mm-hmm.
the walls were very minimal because people always say, "Oh, they're like squirrel, squirrel." Well, it is true. So you want to have the least amount, on the wall,
Mm-hmm.
and then very structured. So the every day was consistent. It was the same thing. It
Mm-hmm.
was an opener.
Mm-hmm.
It was lecture. They knew it. It was prescribed. So it was no
Mm-hmm.
surprises. So they knew what to do, where to turn in homework, when homework was due,
Mm-hmm.
and then grace. And that maybe that's biblical, for me. But I would
Mm-hmm.
grace upon grace because that's what they needed. They're gonna mess
Yes.
up, and
Yeah.
they're babies,
We
they're
mess up.
kids.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's
So
right.
that was
That's
some
right.
of the strategies I used.
Yes, yes.
And
Okay, I know we're on a time constraint. Go ahead, Thomas.
one thing that I would say, Marta, real quick, one thing that I would tell my teachers to do is to announce transitions. Students
Mm.
like
Mm.
noises, student likes to see things go off, set a
Mm-hmm.
timer, put it on the screen. Hey y'all, we got 2 minutes to get this done. The second thing that we have to do is
Nice.
chunk the lessons. Chunk the lessons.
I
Do
love that.
not provide all everything at one time. Chunk it. I'm gonna be
That's
quiet.
good.
I'm gonna shut up.
Okay, okay. Next question. Here's another question for you. We have. How can parents and schools collaborate together to create consistent emotional behavioral support for children with ADHD? Michelle.
So, so during the IEP, it is important for the if whoever's leading the IEP to ask the parent what strategies they use at home that's effective, that can
Mm-hmm.
be mimicked at home, and vice versa. So there
Mm-hmm.
needs to be consistency between the home and sometimes it's supporting the parents to know what is needed. So maybe parents don't know you need to have a consistent time frame of homework, but that collaboration of a consistent schedule helps in how exactly they can support that child with their homework. um, that's one way.
I love it. I love it. Thomas, I want to ask you the next question because I think this fits in here really,
you,
really well. I know.
you do. I have to say this, Marty. I have to say this. Build community, safe
Yes.
spaces, and trusted
Yes.
open conversations. That is what is important in that last question. But go ahead.
Yes, no, you're right. You're right. Right. So, in what ways does untreated or misunderstood, that's what I think of this in the clinical perspective, ADHD affects the child's self esteem and sense of belonging? Ooh, that's a good one.
Labeling. Labeling. That's
Yes.
just what it
Yeah.
is labeling. You know,
You took my
I think
brilliant question and said labeling.
to just land the plane,
Yeah.
we sometimes educators, we hurt our youth by asking a
Hmm.
kid, did you take your medicine today?
Oh
Mm,
gosh, yes.
I've heard
mm,
when I would hear educators or people say, "Oh, he or she is doing that because they must didn't take their vitamins today." Come on, y'all. Think about that.
right.
Like what we say out of our mouths, our kids may have ADHD, but that doesn't mean that they can't hear and they can't
Right.
feel. So when you think
Right.
about what ways does untreated, misunderstood ADHD affects a child's self-esteem and self-belonging, is that sense of labeling, that sense of disconnect,
Right.
that sense of not
Right.
having nobody that they can talk to. Maybe I know that my pills was not refilled, but if I walk in the building and I say that, will what I share with you stay there?
Right. Oh, that's
Mhm.
good. That goes back to that
Because
Oh, it's so
relational
good.
thing, the trust. Yeah.
it's
Trust.
that whole thing of labeling. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes.
Because
Yes. Yes.
Yep, that
I know
covers
we
it
on
all.
time. Labeling.
Yes, I want to make sure because the Mac in the back is going to be in my ear in a minute, and he's going to be like,
Okay.
so Michelle, I want to ask you this, and then I want to talk about Ivy Bound LA. What steps can parents take to advocate for their child's learning needs without feeling adversarial towards the school system?
Anything that you do, you shouldn't feel adversarial. That's your baby.
Mm.
That's your child. I've been labeled as tiger mom, all these different things for my sons, and I was like, bring it, I'll be that. Because
Yes.
it is your child. You know your child better than anyone else. So anything that you feel is what you need for your child or you see, that is not being adversarial. That's just saying, this is what I deserve. It's educational rights. And I think for parents to really educate themselves on what are rights that you have so that you can go in there well informed, really look up, research, and understand what are your rights, and so that you can be able to demand that for your child.
I love it. I love it. So I want to kind of switch because you're doing that. So you have an amazing program, you and Steve. Steve's still around, or he's take
No,
off?
he left. That's okay.
Oh, so okay.
he,
See, I
he
tried
has
to help him
he,
out, but
he has a short attention span too. So well, okay.
so talk to us about the whole purpose of Ivy Bound LA and what that looks like and what yours and Steve's purpose and the services that you offer to support our children going to the next level.
So Ivy Bound LA it's Ivy Bound Learning
Oh,
Associates. So
here he
it's a
is.
program. Oh, there he is. Okay. It's a program that we started to really support kids from ninth to 12th grade. And what we
Hmm.
realized was there was a gap there with parents understanding how do I prepare my child to get admission to college, because it gets harder and harder every year. And so we
Yes.
have a program where we take kids from ninth all the way to 12th, and we're helping them with what does your resume look like, coaching them on interviews, what
Love
classes
it.
should you take, what
Yes.
how to prepare them. And so that's what our program does. And we really are trying to help as many families as we can, just support them in the education process. We're in college season right now, so when I am finished
Yes.
here, I'm moving on with one of my clients, because we have, yeah, it's the early application season right now. So, but that's what we started, and so we do everything from helping them get tutoring or identifying. I have one of my clients who needs help with organization and time management skills. So we do
Uh-huh.
all of that.
And one thing we also
Wow.
do, we take them from freshman year all the way through to the
Mhm.
first day of college.
Mhm.
And you know,
That's
and even
good.
if they need assistance with that, you know, she helped them with the process of even learning how to study properly if we get them early
Right.
enough. That's
Right.
important. A lot of children feel frustrated. I won't say they
Right.
can't do the work. They just feel frustrated because they don't know how to study. And one of the things
Right.
that we through this company, she had a conversation with a guy who's a doctor today because of someone taking time to noticing that when he got all the way to college and didn't know how to study in his undergrad. So someone told him you have a problem studying. So then he taught him how to study, and then that opened a big door for him. And then now he's a physician. He went to med school
Wow.
at Morehouse. Now he did his residency at UCLA, and he's right here in LA now doing this thing.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Because those are common things that I think a lot of us I almost said hell. Hell, I'm in trying to get my doctorate, and I'm struggling with learning how to study. And so, because you find out how Thomas, don't you say nothing.
What up, Steve?
So, due to lack of time and everything, I just need to have another show with you guys coming in and bringing on with our. How do we get a hold of you, and how can we contact you if anyone has wants to reach out? And is this just for California, or can this be nationwide?
We have clients that are back east.
And we also have team members of ours that's back east as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually have kids in colleges, you know, like she worked with in Maryland all the way through. So, you know, we're widespread. You can find us on all social media platforms, Ivy Bound LA, and that stands for Ivy Bound Learning Associates, in short, Ivy Bound LA.
And you can email us too.
You can definitely email us on that one there as well. If you ping us on that, it will definitely pop up. And so always look there for us. Reach out to us, tap us on the shoulder, and we'll respond to you. Check out our YouTube channel, Ivy Bound LA. We have comments in there how, you know, we actually first launched on YouTube. We need to get back into that.
I know Marty's
Yes,
inspiring.
exactly.
But yeah, you can just all those platforms.
All this time I thought it was talking about LA, California. Ivy Bound LA, you know.
We're not just LA, Learning Associates.
Learning Associates.
Just so happen we're based here.
Thomas, don't you say nothing.
Michelle and Steve, it's great to see you both.
Good to see you guys.
Great to see you too.
No, thank you, guys. I just wanted to make sure that we knew that, and I think we planned something where we can really walk through the steps of what that looks like. But before we go, Thomas, thank you as always. Please tell people how they can get a hold of you, and if they're in that DMV area, because you got licensures in all the original 13 colonies that happened in the United States on that East Coast, Rhode Island, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, all of that. So how can they get a hold of you in the DMV area?
Marty, thank you. Stephen and Michelle, I would love to get out Ivy League LA to my nonprofit organization, Limitless Endeavors, just so we can partner here in the DMV area. Because one of the things that we have to do, if we have not learned anything that is happening in the world, we got to have a plan. We got to be able to build our entrepreneur skills. We got to understand the importance of knowledge is power. So I officially want to say online, Limitless Endeavors welcomes you to the DMV area so we can really build partnerships and reach out to our kids here in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. So we will talk offline and we will talk about what that looks like in 2026. But to follow me on all social media outlets, you can follow us on the website, which is www.limitlessp.org, or you can follow us on all social media outlets, which is Limitless Outcomes. Or you can follow us on my nonprofit organization, which is Limitless Endeavors. Limitless Endeavors is about to take off in 2026 because we have to give back to the community. We got to prepare our Black and brown women Women needs
That's
to
right.
be empowered,
Right.
especially
Mhm.
with what is happening now in the world. So be on the lookout. And again, Stephen and Michelle, no lie, we need to talk because I need to get you
Yes,
guys on
Thomas.
this side, on the best coast, which is the East Coast.
Oh,
Love you.
now
West
that's
Coast,
questionable.
West
Well,
Coast,
my
West
best
Coast.
friend is in Bowie. My best friend is in Bowie, so there we go.
Fine,
In Bowie,
about
Maryland.
10 minutes from me. I'm in Laurel.
Yes.
10 minutes.
You,
We good.
you ain't,
We don't
you,
need
you ain't
Marty.
never
We
offered
don't need Marty.
And real quick, I want to
Okay,
make a real quick
Daryl.
comment.
Yes.
I know I'm going to beat you up, but one of the things that I definitely want to make a comment on is parents, don't be afraid to. That's why we started this company. Parents, don't be afraid to reach for those Ivy League level schools
That's right.
because
That's right.
they are available. We didn't know this until we actually took a step out on faith and actually pushed that envelope. And then we have 2 kids that went to the Ivy League. So that's not saying that's the Ivy League is where you want to get the pinnacle, but the thing is, if you
Exactly.
strive for upper echelon type education, and you can be in a position of denying the school, not the school denying you. And that's the premise of what we launched with
right.
this company. And we feed that into our clients and our families and let them know that those opportunities are available for you, but you got to do the work.
That's right. That's right. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Well, again, I want to thank you for joining us on this
Thank you,
edition of
Marty.
Mental Health. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, just thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Uh,
see,
Yeah.
that's what we do. That's
And
what we
thank you,
do.
Thomas.
What?
I'm excited to talk to you.
Yes.
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 Just because it's your birthday tomorrow, Steve, I ain't gonna clown you. I don't like clowning third world individuals. But anyway,
I got to smoke.
okay.
I'm here for the smoke.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us here on the Mental Health Party Show. We want you to always remember that we don't ever want to leave you without having some of the resources that are necessary that you can utilize. We want to just recommend some of these resources here to my immediate right that you can definitely look into and call and reach out if you are needing support in the mental health, because we want to make sure that you are taken care of. And too often in this journey called life, too many of us secretly suffer in silence in the shadow of shame. But we don't want you to continue to do that. As I say each week, you got to speak up, speak out in order that you might live your best life. Enjoy. We'll see you next week for another exciting show. Take care and God bless.